Welcome to the Inspired by Jacqueline podcast, a refreshing place for women struggling with entrepreneurship, faith, or infertility. Stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome everyone to another episode of Inspired by Jacqueline. I am super excited to have this special guest today because we go way back and I've seen her grow and flourish in her natural creativity, and I can't wait to bring her in because we have so much to talk about. Her name is Oniki Hardtman, and she is the founder and creative director of Oniki Occasions, a boutique firm specializing in destination wedding planning and event design. After a successful career in New York City's fashion industry, where she regularly traveled the globe seeking design inspiration, Oniki had a desire to create. And I remember this like it was yesterday, where she reached out and we had a conversation, but we'll chat about that later. She wanted to create on a more intimate level and founded O Nikki Occasions in 2015 to lend her keen eye for design to multicultural clientele worldwide, doubling down on her love for jet setting. Oh my gosh, she is a jet setter and globally inspired events. Oniki now provides curated travel services along with planning and design to her destination clientele and enjoys mentoring others on how to do the same. Welcome, Oniki. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I'm super excited and honestly overwhelmed with gratitude. Just hearing you talk about that and thinking back to literally 10 years ago, I do remember having that conversation with you right before I formed my company. And yeah, like talk about a full circle moment.
And I know we did an event recently together. And when you mentioned the 10 years, I was like, it felt like it was yesterday. Like, what?
Right.
Really? Like, oh my gosh. It was a sweet note for me when you share that, because if somebody has a question or they're looking for direction, I'm there to be a seed to help push someone to that next level. And I'm
Yeah.
glad to see 10 years. You are a jet setter. So where are you? Because I know you're between Florida, New York City, New Jersey, and Bermuda.
Yes. So currently I am in my condo in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl born and raised. This is where I founded my business 10 years ago. And yeah, it's only half time because I do still reside in my main residence in South Florida, where I've been for the past 6 years. So
Oh
I
my
do go back
God.
and forth. I like to say I live up in the air. I am now a divorcee, but my husband was from Bermuda.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I always say, like, I got half of the island in the divorce. I love Bermuda with a deep, deep passion and all the people there. And it's just one of the many destinations that I'm always so excited to share with people,
Mhm.
especially people that have never been or that have been and love it as dearly as I do.
And how do you tell your clients? I know we're jumping in a different conversation, but I'm curious and I
Oh.
got you here. So, what do you tell your clients that say, oh, but what about the Bermuda Triangle? What is that about?
So I learned very early on because I had always heard of it and questioned it as well. The Bermuda Triangle actually exists, I believe. Don't let me get this wrong. I believe the Bermuda Triangle is between Florida, the Bahamas, and Puerto Rico. Or
Okay.
that's like all of that is encompassed within it. Or maybe it's between Bermuda, Bahamas, Puerto Rico. But like that is the triangle. So it's not just Bermuda. Like Bermuda got the
Ah,
name. And yes, some strange things possibly, back in the day have occurred there, but nothing recent
wow.
that I have heard of. I mean, have you heard
Okay.
of any strange happenings
And,
there? I think
and Bermuda got stuck with the name.
Bermuda got stuck with the name. At least it's famous. Everybody's famous for something.
Yeah,
So
that's
Bermuda's
good.
famous for the triangle and the shorts.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Bermuda
right.
shorts, right?
Thank you for that history lesson there. So, how do you start your mornings?
How do I start my mornings? Typically with a cup of coffee. Always needed. I see you run on Dunkin', just
Yes,
like I
yes,
do. Just
yeah.
honestly, I wake up and start my mornings with gratitude. So, unfortunately, I can't break out of this habit of having like reaching for my phone nearly right away. But I will say, I'm reaching for my phone because my Bible app is on there.
Mm,
And also, I'm also, aside from being a Christian and reading my daily Bible verse through the Bible app, I am a firm believer in the secret and positive thoughts and positive thinking. So a long time
yep.
ago, after I was first introduced to the secret and saw the secret video, a dear friend of mine who's no longer here on earth with us, she and I were both big believers in the secret for many reasons.
Mm,
And so the secret app, if you don't have that on your phone,
hmm
it is honestly a great tool that I use to stay positive and uplifted throughout the day. So, Lisa, that I work with. So, I have introduced her and Mark recently to the affirmations that I do. That is set for my phone at 5 p.m. every day. I do daily affirmations. But in the morning, the secret app is set to, I write out gratitude every day on that
Mhm.
app. And there's different things that you can do and set it to your own schedule of what works for you. So if you haven't looked into the secret app, please do.
I'm
You love it.
curious now. I'm like, ooh, I
You
gotta
will
look
love
at
it.
that.
Yeah, so I write out my gratitude in the app, and it's a great way to be able to go back to it over the length of time that you need and look back at pivotal moments in your life and things that you're reflecting on. And then, of course, again, starting off the day with a Bible verse and whatnot helps me.
Amen. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what word would describe how you currently feel right now?
In this moment, gratitude. Honestly, I like to lead with gratitude. And no matter what's going on in my life, what do I have to be grateful for? Because, even when things are going wrong, things could always be worse.
Mm,
So there's always something to be grateful for, and there's always a bright side. There's always something to be thankful for. And I feel everything happens for a reason. We don't always
mm,
know why in that moment. And of course, all of our faith can get challenged at some point in
mm.
time, but we just have to trust that what is meant to be will be.
Oh, I am such
Yeah.
a believer of everything you just said. So, ditto
Yeah.
to that, because I definitely believe things happen for a reason. And I was working on my newsletter the other day and was just really pondering and thinking about positivity, not allowing nobody to take that away from you. Because once you lose that, once you get distracted by
Mhm.
life, it is just a matter of, okay, now you're really seeing and feeling all of these challenges, but stay focused on your faith and the positive affirmations. I am such a believer in that. So thank you for that. And definitely my cup of coffee, whether it's Dunkin', I do have a preference to Dunkin' than Starbucks, but yeah, not putting plugs on either, but
Exactly. Yeah, I would generally do Dunkin's over Starbucks.
I
Dunkin'
feel,
is the coffee that raised me.
yeah,
And at home here, I mean, I will say, like when I go to a great hotel room, the Nespresso machines are wonderful, but at home here, I have a Keurig. So
I
yeah,
have to
so
learn
I'm
how
all
to.
about my Keurig. I have a really good one here in the New Jersey place that makes like iced coffee and makes different sizes. So I love the evolution of the Keurig as well. I've had a few
I
of
gotta
those.
learn
So
about that
I'm a
one.
Keurig girl. And can I throw in one more thing that I
Yeah.
start my mornings with?
Yes.
It's just and maybe I'm only throwing it in because currently I'm the champ 2 days in a row. But I start my day with Wordle. My mother, my brother, and I have a chat specifically for our daily Wordle to see who
Wow.
could get it in the least amount of tries. And 2 days in a row, I'm back on top. I'm the Wordle champ.
It's relaxing and it's also a way
Gets your
to
mind
for your
going.
mind and then a connection between your family. So
Yes. It's wonderful. So for those reasons, that's why I'm throwing it in there.
Oh my gosh. No,
Yeah,
that is awesome.
every morning.
I have my puzzle on my phone. It's a distraction to keep me positive, to keep me focused and things like that. So I know today we had a conversation earlier. I am really like just humbled by you just wanting to have a conversation about your fertility journey, which for most part, for us women in general, is hard for us to share. So first of all, thank you for wanting to share and to have this conversation, because even though we still go through certain things, it's about paying it forward to hopefully help somebody who
Absolutely.
might be going through it. So thank you. So I would start the conversation with, when you were younger, was there any inkling into anyone being challenged, or was it just, oh yeah, everybody has a family and you grow up and you have a family and you have kids and you get married and all that stuff? And not in that order, supposedly back in the day, but
Mhm.
you get married first and then you have kids and all
Yeah.
that. So tell me how, when you were younger, what that perception was.
Yeah, I mean, that perception, I come from a wonderful family. My parents were married until the day that my dad passed away. Also, just a wonderful, like almost traditional, right, household environment. Two parents, two kids, no dog. We had cats. Grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey, large families on both sides. My mom was one of five. My dad is one of, I don't know how many, I think it was seven aunts, two brothers, large, large, large family. And for the most part, all of my aunts, everybody had children for the most part, right? It
Mhm.
was never anything I questioned. And my own mom is so amazing. I just always knew that I was going to be a mom as well and pass down all those things that they had always taught me. And I had always, always, always envisioned it. Never any doubt that I would be a mom at some point in time. And as I grew even into my 20s, and it always was very career focused. In my bio, you mentioned like I had a whole nother career in footwear before I was fully in events. And I was doing really well for myself. I went to FIT. I was always the type of person that knew exactly the path that she was going to go on career wise. Like when I was in high school and my focus in high school was in fashion, I only applied to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I'm like, why am I going to go to any other college that has like, oh, a small fashion program when I am so close to New York City? FIT is right there. I can major in this and like go ahead on my journey because I worked for Kenneth Cole for 10 years and that started in high school. That started when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
So and long story short, I really like started working in the buying office of Kenneth Cole when I was, how old was I? 19 years old, because my journey again had started in retail in Short Hills. And then I was able to get an interview while I was still going to FIT. So I ended up going to FIT, not even part time, but FIT is so used to having students that are also balancing their career as well as school, that I was able to do like work full time in the buying office as well as do 21 credits at night and working on weekends and like just always very focused on my career, but still always in the back of my mind, there was never a doubt that I was going to become a mom. So
Mm.
when I was in the buying office at age 19 through age 25 is when I switched over from the buying office to the wholesale division as a designer. It was very much like, okay, I literally spent, if you had to add up all the days, I spent half my year in China, not consecutively,
Wow.
but literally like 8 trips a year to China at minimum. That was like 10 days at a time. At most, it was 3.5 weeks at a time, plus
Mm.
trips to Europe, plus trips to, shoe shows in Las Vegas. So there was hardly any time for dating or yes, I dated, but like those relationships just didn't work. But either way, in the back of my mind, and I remember these conversations so clearly, right, with my parents, that like, oh well, if I don't end up with somebody, I'm just going to have a baby on my own. I'm just, like, there's nothing stopping me. I'm just gonna, but I was always going to become a mom. And here's the funny thing that I sarcastically joke around with my mom about now, because my parents, again, they had me and my brother. My brother is 5.5 years older than I am. And they had my brother when they were 30 and they were 35 when they had me. And you can
Mhm.
imagine back in the day when they're growing up, that was old, right?
I
Those are
was old.
older
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
And it's funny because right now I'm 45, but I see these memes that are so true. People that I grew up with, some of them are brand new parents and some of them are grandparents at this age, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be either or. It could
Yeah.
be it's spread out. And so I never imagined that
Yeah.
45 and no child, that was never something that I envisioned for myself. I was always going to be, oh, I'm not going to be the old parent. I'm going to have kids definitely way before 35 because you guys were the old parents. And that's not going to be me. I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to have my career. I'm going to have a kid. I'm going to have it all.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need a guy, right? And yet here I am.
Yeah. And you mentioned how many siblings on both sides of your parents. My father was one of 15. My
Wow.
mother was one of 9. Then my cousins were having kids. I was going to school and I was working because I wanted to have a successful career.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was putting my life on hold, just that the right person did not come. And I met somebody and like nothing was in my head. No GYN doctor told me because I know there are certain women in this fertility journey that they have PCOS or something like that. They have an inkling or a GYN might tell them this may block you and no conversation. So I'm 28 years old, got married the first time, and first year came, first year passed, and
Mhm.
there was no conversation. I mean, I thought I was gonna have twins. People, my family would always joke with me because there were twins in our family. Or you're probably gonna have triplets or twins, and I'm like, okay. I had a favorite crib that I knew I wanted.
Mhm.
And to then learn and go to the GYN after a year of trying, oh, you're infertile. I'm like, what is that? Like, what? So, yeah, for me, the same thing. There was never a conversation, never an
Mhm.
inkling of, yeah, so and so had problems or anything like that. I always knew that there was somebody who never got married, but not
Mhm.
anybody
Yeah.
who couldn't have
Who
children.
struggled in doing so. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first realize that your fertility journey was not what you expected? And if you feel comfortable in sharing your journey a bit from the moment that you found out?
So for me, and honestly, the word infertility is so broad, right? Or,
It is.
fertility. So yeah, we'll go with fertility journey. It shows up, right? And as something that, again, we never necessarily thought would be a challenge, but it's a challenge for so many. So for me, again, right guy turned out to not be the right guy, but when I got married, I was married at 37. And even with that, by then I had seen and been exposed to so many women out there that, like, even at 37, oh, sure, women are having babies at 40, over 40. So my first year in our marriage, I honestly was not necessarily in a rut. Like, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, okay, she's 37, she's getting married now, and we got to have that baby right away, like honeymoon baby or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because to be honest, again, I started my company, I was 35. So my company was still new and flourishing. And of course I wanted to have a baby, but again, no second thought as to whether or not it would happen or if I would be challenged in doing so. So this is where it gets a little hard also. So I was married September 4th, and my dad unfortunately had a stroke on May 4th of the following year. So not even a full
Mm-hmm.
year later. It was literally 8 months to the day of my wedding. My father had a stroke, and he had a hemorrhagic stroke, and it landed him in the hospital. And this just so happened to be literally days after my first wedding that I had executed for what I refer to as like strangers, right? Not a
The first official.
the first official Oniki Occasions wedding was on April 29th of 2017. And it was the first couple that had trusted me that never knew me from before. A lot of my business, even now, is referral based, right? So this was not a family friend. This was not
Mm-hmm.
a relative. This was I've
Stranger.
seen, I know that you've been in the industry. I've seen what you can do. I trust you. We've planned this for a year or whatnot. And here I am executing their wedding. That wedding was on a Saturday. My parents were traveling. They went to Cuba and Bermuda. They were, doing their thing, living their life. And they came home that same Saturday. My husband and I had them over for dinner on a Tuesday. And on Thursday morning, my father wound up in the hospital where he remained until September. So literally, I lost my dad September 15th. So 1 year and change, like 1 year and a week after my first anniversary. So you can imagine during that time, like, I wasn't in a rush for those first 8 months of marriage. We were just like, enjoying being newlyweds. And then for those next few months while he was in the hospital, certainly was not at the forefront of my mind.
Right.
Right. And as we talk about entrepreneurship, talk about challenging that you're going through this time. I now have other couples on the books. I now, need to tell, reshuffle my schedule and what that looks like and my availability to my couples while I'm being, a caregiver to my dad who's in the hospital and a wife and just juggling all these things at once. It was extremely difficult. And right, these are my first year of marriage and first couple years of entrepreneurship, right? So it wasn't my main focus. And I remember friends and coworkers of mine, I had a part-time job at the time, saying like, you're getting up there in age. Like, I know you're going through all these things, but you really should start. So ironically, without trying, again, my father passed away on September 15th. That year, my birthday is September 29th. His wake was held on my birthday, September 29th. It was a Friday of that year. His funeral was Saturday, the September 30th. And we had lots of friends and family come into town. And I just remember feeling different. Like, I think we had ordered some like burgers and fries, and there were garlic fries. And like, I went to take a bite and I was
It
like,
just, woo.
I'm not eating this. And so by the time everybody left on that Monday, I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant.
Wow.
So that was my first time ever in life becoming pregnant. And so I was overjoyed.
A whole slew of mixed emotions.
Every emotion
Every emotion
under
possible
the
that you
sun.
can.
Every emotion under the sun. So you can only imagine what that was like. And luckily, my mom, we had a family home in New Jersey and she was primarily living in Florida. So she happened to be here when I found out. And I was able to share that with her. And of course, again, super emotional for her as well, becoming a recent widow after they were married for so many years. And you're just going through it. And certain dates I remember because similar to my birthday and all these milestones, my best friend's birthday is November 2nd. And I remember by the time her birthday came around, I had lost that pregnancy. And it was so jarring. And this is a whole nother aspect of the conversation around fertility and women's journeys. I think people see all the time how maternal, I can't think of like the right terminology that's being used, but basically maternal health care. The conversation is so, again, broad and so deep. And I remember finding out we were on, let me backtrack a little bit because there may be people listening that haven't gone through certain steps and it's all so clear in my mind because of, for me now, there's trauma around each of these progressions as you're pregnant. So typically, women can find out they're pregnant and you call your doctor up right away. You're excited and you got to get to the OBGYN. And they're like, that's wonderful. When was your last period? And you tell them and they're like, okay. And you took how many home pregnancy tests? And you tell them and they're like, okay, we will see you in 5 weeks. I'm like, what? You don't want to see me right away? No, they don't want to see you essentially until you're like 12 weeks. Especially if this is, your first pregnancy and anything else. They don't want to see you. Like there's like benchmarks that they want to see you and that's it. Outside of that, it's like, here's how we do it. You're good. Just don't do this. Don't drink alcohol. Don't do drugs. Don't smoke if you're a smoker. We'll see you on such and such date. Congratulations.
Wow.
So we have our 12-week appointment. And I remember going in for that appointment, and my husband was with me. And I remember the nurse practitioner first, and then you go into the waiting
Mhm.
room, and then it's your time to see the doctor, right? And you're in a waiting room full of pregnant women at all different
Mm.
stages. And I see you closing your eyes because you know what
Ugh.
feeling.
I'm visualizing like my head is going way back right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's all sorts of like trauma linked
Oh
to all
yeah.
it's such a journey. I was done with the nurse practitioner. They had gotten, she told me get dressed and this, that, whatever. And I'm walking in the hallway of the doctor's office from the room that I was in to join my husband in the waiting room before we go in to see the doctor. And at the door to leading into the waiting room, the nurse practitioner says, there's no heartbeat. So just wait in the waiting room and the doctor will see you. It's not a viable pregnancy. The doctor will see you. Just wait with your husband and then, you'll come back in.
Just like that.
Just like that. Just like that. And you can imagine I had no words. I had no words and I literally had to open that door to a room full of couples
Expecting mother.
and I had to go over to my husband and pull him outside to the parking lot where I had to share this news. And so we got through that day. We went home to tell my mom more devastating news on top of
Hmm.
her husband died. Oh, your daughter's pregnant. Oh, your daughter's not pregnant.
Did they
Uh,
say why?
no. So again, this was our first pregnancy and we were so confused. So we did have testing done, but so we elected to have testing done to understand why. And they kind of came back. We get those results a couple weeks later because I did have a DNC, which, again, as part of the conversations and with all that's going on in the States right now about what you can and cannot do with your body, a DNC is something that I believe is no longer allowed, right? They have to, remove the remnants of your pregnancy or what they refer to it as. And so that's a scheduled surgical procedure at the hospital with your OBGYN. And then they were able to test that. And I believe with that pregnancy, she said it was just a chromosomal thing or just abnormality, any number of reasons that it could make a pregnancy not viable, right? So, but what stuck with me, right? Perhaps because of the way that I was told, there was no heartbeat. So I knew
Yeah,
that's
that
what,
stays
like,
with you. Like, okay.
yes, right. And then you suddenly realize, and again, in conversations with others that help get you through.
Hmm.
This is when my sister-in-law says, oh, yes, your brother and I had lost you. And I knew that they had lost one at some point, but then she went on to have two healthy, beautiful baby boys.
Hmm.
But I knew she had gone through one. A couple other friends, perhaps, that we were just starting to tell that we were pregnant. They reached out and said, oh, yes, I had one. I had one. Speaking of miscarriage. And these were all, at least with the women that I had shared with her that were sharing with me, they were all women that have children now.
Hmm.
So there was hope in my heart, right? It was like, okay, this does happen. I knew that my mom at some point had one miscarriage as well. And she reminded me of that. Again, you speak about childhood. She didn't ever speak about it when I was a young child. And again, my mother also went on to have two healthy babies, right? So
Yeah.
I knew, or I felt that I knew that this was, for lack of better terminology, a bump in the road
Hmm.
that we would get through and get over and eventually have more children. But so that pregnancy was not very widely known, again, because I found out at 12 weeks and hadn't told the world.
Yeah.
I had only shared it with a couple friends. So that was, again, by November is when I had the first DNC. The pregnancy that I had after that was more widely known about because I carried that pregnancy through till 23 weeks. And so I was
Mm,
going, I was in like my 5th month and everybody knew, right? I was so excited to have my rainbow baby.
mhm.
Literally, that's in my mind because that terminology had come about and you see it all the time. We all
Yeah.
see that term all the time. And again, I'm a super positive person. And again, nothing but faith in God and hope in my heart. So, okay, all we're looking out for is a heartbeat. Every doctor's appointment, how's the heartbeat? How's the heartbeat, right? Because that's,
Because
again,
that's a trigger now.
that's a trigger now, right? As long as there's a heartbeat, we're good.
Hmm.
Turned out we were not good, right? So, long story short, and this is also where entrepreneurship and that juggle comes in once again. So, again, benchmarks in pregnancy and your doctor's visits. There's a 12-week, and then you see them again at, I want to say it's either like 14 or 15 weeks. A big one is a 16-week,
Hmm.
and then your 20-week, right? So these are the majors, the 12, the 16, the 20.
Hmm.
So I remember at the 16-week, heartbeat good, everything seemed normal. They do certain tests. Again, it's years ago now, so I don't remember what tests exactly they do, but everything was a-okay at 16. And I think that's probably when I shared, because like we wanted to get past the 12, right?
Yeah.
It was no, and again, at that 12 you realize, oh, this is why women don't share the news right
Hmm.
away, right? Because then as you look into everything, as you're questioning your own body, as you're questioning life and everything else, you start to read and see other people sharing their journey. And then you start to see some of the stats of how many pregnancies out there don't make it to 12, right?
Hmm.
And that's why a lot of women don't share right
Hmm.
away that they're pregnant,
Yeah.
because the likelihood of that being a viable pregnancy is typically so low. So we get to 16 weeks. And again, I think I'm in the clear, right? So I think around that time is probably when we shared. And obviously, I'm definitely like showing by now and everything else. And I can say around, I forgot what week it was. Let's say it was around 19 weeks. Again, I'm working part time and I experienced some bleeding.
Mm.
And I went to the hospital to have it checked out, and they're like, oh no, this is normal, you're
Normal.
good,
Yeah.
allegedly, and you're good, you can go home. So okay, let's say that's at 19 weeks.
Hmm.
During the actual 20th week, I was traveling. My mom and I did a girls trip. And I remember this so clearly. It was in Florida. I remember posting photos, and I remember posting like prayer and some things that I was thinking of floating in the ocean. And here's my big, beautiful bump. And I'm on the beach and basking in the beautifulness of, again, my rainbow baby,
Hmm.
right? By that time, again, it's all, what's the term? All systems go, right?
Hmm.
So by this time, my mom is planning my rainbow baby shower. We've booked the venue.
Mm.
Like it was again full circle moment, right? Because I think I can't remember the exact due date, but like let's say it was going to be almost a combination of like I'll celebrate my birthday then, and it'll be a rainbow baby shower. And I designed it, right? She was throwing it, I was designing it. I literally still have like the swatches, and I knew what linens I was going to use. And we were
Wow.
doing it at Orange Lawn Tennis Club, and like every like guest list done, invitations, the whole thing. Because now we're in June of that year. And I remember like I have pictures from the fireworks and everything else. So we were traveling like during the actual 20th week, but because I had already experienced miscarriage, I was seeing the doctor more frequently. Now they
Awesome.
give you some grace with how many
Mhm.
appointments you can have because you've experienced the loss, right? But if, oh, God forbid, if this is your first pregnancy, oh no, we're seeing you at
You're
12,
good.
16, 20, 24, and then we'll see you more frequently. So, but because I was also now advanced maternal age, plus had experienced the loss, okay, they'll treat you a little bit more special than the average woman out there. So I get back from Florida. I go in for what would be my 20-week appointment. And at this appointment, the center we were at, again, I was born here in Jersey in St. Barnabas. So I knew I was going to deliver all my babies at St. Barnabas also. And so we're at St. Barnabas. The type of doctor that we need to see is there at St. Barnabas, and they also do all your genetic testing at that appointment. It's like there's certain things that happen at each of these milestones. So we actually met with 2 back-to-back appointments. We meet with the genetic specialist first, and they say, oh yeah, you guys are perfectly compatible, shouldn't be any issues with this child or any other, etc. And then we go in for I guess it's an ultrasound at that appointment. So this one's like, again, a little bit more technical. They have a camera and all the things are happening. And at that appointment, there's still a heartbeat. We're good, right? This is always, the first thing we're asking for. But at that appointment, we found out that there were developmental issues with my child's brain, and they were not compatible with life. And basically, the choice I was given was continue this pregnancy and put your own life at risk for a child that we can't even show you the photos because the brain is like, essentially it was a condition called porencephaly, and like the brain was gone, and like it was just very graphic. So to be honest, by this point in time, I'm not just taking this doctor's opinion. I went for second and third opinions. I went to NYU Medical Center and had every specialist in the tri-state area that I could see. This appointment was at 21 weeks. And again, there's rules around when you can do certain things and not. And so within those next couple of weeks, I saw every type of specialist that I could to confirm what they were saying to me or confirm how compatible this is. And I have every prayer warrior I can find in my family trying to figure this out. And of course, just trying to get through that. And ultimately, they're like, you will be delivering a baby that is not fully developed at all. And you are at such risk carrying it, it's not compatible with life. And so technically, because there is a heartbeat, you now have to make the decision that you don't want to make. You have to decide what to do with pregnancy that you want so badly. And I've never faced anything harder in this life, you know? So by my 23rd week, I had to end that pregnancy, and it was devastating.
And with all of this, you still had your work.
So yes, with all of this, I remember that was 2018. I can tell you a week prior or whatever it was, heartbeat was great. Even in this appointment, heartbeat's great. This is, let's say it's 11 a.m. appointment. At 2 or 3 p.m., I had a tasting scheduled with and a walkthrough with my couple for August. And I remember having to call them and try to get through a phone call to let them know I can't make it to their walkthrough. And this is a New York based couple. Like, I had to, without telling them what was going on, right? And I remember having, by this time, fully showing everybody knew it was a very visible pregnancy. And so I had so many wonderful couples on the books, and everybody is always congratulations and this, that, whatever. And so I had to have a lot of tough conversations with my couples and just let them know I'm no longer expecting. And even couples that were closer to my delivery date, that there's always backup plans in place. If for whatever reason I give birth early, this is who's going to handle your wedding or whatever. So a lot of tough conversations for sure. But in particular with the one that I had scheduled, later that day.
During that time.
That I wasn't going to be able to make it. So it's certainly a hard thing to juggle. And again, rainbow baby shower on the books. something that I always think about. So fast forwarding a little bit, right? Because obviously getting through that was extremely tough, but this is probably when I really learned, and I'm not saying that this is the key, I'm not suggesting this to anybody else, but a lot of us dive into our work to distract us from what's actually happening in our lives. And it
Mhm.
helps get us through because otherwise I'd be curled up in bed a lot, right?
Mhm.
Especially as we're going through something. But I certainly learned to dive into work there, and it kind of reinforces my why. All of these things that I've gone through, they actually reinforce my why, especially like losing my dad a year after, like literally just past my 1 year wedding anniversary, him never being able to walk again literally 8 months to the day after our first dance that he looked forward to all my life, right? There's nothing, even though if I'm divorced now, there's nothing I regret about my wedding because my dad got to have that wedding that he had always dreamed of for me. And I always tell couples, again, without telling them my full story, sometimes I do tell them some of that story that, like, no, you need video because I'm so thankful that I have my dad and daughter first dance. I have his entire speech. We have like the full everything for me to always go back and see. And I have this now for a lifetime. So there's no skipping video
Yeah.
services for your wedding when it comes to me, right?
So at
But
least you have that and you were able
for
to have
sure.
that
I
and
mean,
cherish it.
I have it. I cherish it. And that's why celebrations are so important. We never know. I always say at any gathering, no matter what you're celebrating, you're never likely going to have that same group of people in this place ever again. It's
Mhm.
just life just does happen and you do lose people and you just never know when anything is going to happen. I don't know if you saw a soccer player and his brother were
Oh
recently,
yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just never know. Life is so short, and that's why celebrations are so important. When I see daddy daughter dances, as you mentioned, you were doing a lot of baby showers at the time that you're hearing about your
Mhm.
journey, and it's like, as hard as that can be in theory as well, I honestly like, I, again, always looking at the positive. It is such a precious thing to be able to celebrate that. I want to bring every type of celebration to life because it is such a blessing. Like I get super emotional when I see a daddy daughter dance take place, not because I'm sad, which
Mhm.
of course I am, but that is such a precious moment.
You understand the importance of it.
Absolutely. I become overjoyed for my couples. Like that's why I'm so passionate about creating these special days for people because you never know the gravity of a moment until it
Mhm.
passes. And sometimes couples see beautiful events take place, but not everybody even realizes how precious that moment truly, truly is. So for every celebration, I just want to make it as beautiful, not just in the design, but the feeling of the day and what is captured and what they experience and make it as stress free for people as possible. Because again, celebrations and people, you just never know how long you have them for, right? So when people really started to see that I could take on larger events with ease, and I love doing so, and even again a challenge for me back in, I believe it was 2018. No, this would have been January of 2019, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, if my math is correct. I did a wedding show for Mona Lucci Bride magazine. It was Mona Love Affair. And it was at the same venue as that couple that I told you about that I had to tell them that I wasn't going to be able to
Okay.
make it to their tasting. So, I'm big on developing relationships, and I had formed a relationship with that venue. As I mentioned, I was doing my own rainbow baby shower, and that
Mhm.
could not be canceled, right? The money to the caterer, it is what it is, unfortunately. No matter what you go through, they're like, well, we have that on the books. So how the whole Mudaluchi thing came about, they're like, well, we could do some other sort of event for you. So
It's
that
awesome.
I was like, well, what if I do this industry event, right? What if we put it
Mhm.
towards catering for this magazine? So long story short, we started to work with them, and then the venue got sold. So they ended up being one of my exhibitors. But long story short, that's how the whole thing came about, and that's how I became the producer for that bridal show that year,
Wow.
because I was forced to push through, and I was forced, in my own mind to keep moving forward, and what can I turn this into instead?
Mhm.
This money is spent. Let's allocate it towards something. And it ended up being an amazing show. And I got lots of great referrals and the trust of this major bridal publication because of it. And people were really able to see what I was able to do. And on top of the fact that all while going through some of the hardest loss
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing. I know that's hard, but thank you for sharing. My question is the entrepreneurial woman or man who is focused on growing their business, but also looking to have a family and they go through a challenge. What would you say to them?
That's a difficult one. And we'll use this opportunity to say I'm no expert, right?
Mhm.
And what I can say also is that second pregnancy was not the end of my fertility journey. I went on to have other pregnancies that also were not viable for one reason or another. And I chose to keep them to myself. I have dear friends that don't even know how many pregnancies I've had because at some point reality hits you. And like I mentioned, I am always overjoyed when I see somebody that's pregnant or carrying a child or expecting
Mhm.
whatever. But one word I don't say is congratulations, because for me, I've learned the hard way that the congratulations
Thing
when that baby
happen.
arrives, the congratulations can be premature. What I've learned to say is blessings to you on your pregnancy journey. And again, putting all of your faith and hope and gratitude into what they are carrying, because we don't know what their journey is going to be. And sometimes that premature congratulations is what ultimately becomes the harder thing for them to deal with. Oh, everybody knew. Everybody was so excited for me. Everybody knew what we were experiencing. And now this is not coming to fruition.
Yeah.
So I've just learned that congratulations is not necessarily the right word while someone's in the midst of their journey. And I too, I don't even know where I am with my journey, right? So that's why it's also a little bit hard to answer this question because, again, with each pregnancy and with each loss of a pregnancy, I have probably handled it differently and again adjusted to like, okay, it's not just getting through that heartbeat. And there's so many other things that can happen that you may not know about until I know women that have carried 37 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and still have a stillborn.
Right. Right. Do you think like the support that you've had and uh your faith and then just becoming more aware like through all those different stages has helped you?
Absolutely. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of our conversation. I'm grateful for this moment for even being able to get to this point because, again, with that first pregnancy, it's like, okay, it was the friends and certain members of the community that knew I was pregnant that were able to share that. And maybe some of those DMs that I received came from the second pregnancy, but they thought that might have been the first pregnancy. And, lots of people saying, I've been there, I've gone through this, I'm also on this journey. And that helped me tremendously. And for me, I always knew that I would share my journey. I was never ashamed of it. I always knew the things that we go through. Again, sometimes it is so that we can help others along, similar to what you've shared of how you were able to help give me direction and be that guiding light for me when I was starting my business. Having these conversations does help make people more aware. And actually, I don't know how political we want to get, but I'll say this. The morning after the recent presidential election in November, I had always told myself I'm still on my journey. I don't know what's next for me. I don't know if I will get married again, have a child again. I don't know what that looks like for me yet. But I knew that I would share when I was writing. I felt like my story is still being written. So I didn't
Yeah.
want to share midway. I want to share when I know that here's this chapter, here's the next chapter, here's the next chapter, and here's my happy ending. I have
Mm.
no idea what my happy ending is right now. But what I will say is that the morning after the election and, women's bodies and women's rights to make decisions for their bodies and doctors' abilities to do what
Yes.
is in the best interest of women and couples out there, those rights are being taken away from us.
Hmm.
And what I knew in those moments following that election, mainly because, again, we talk about trauma, right? Of
Hmm.
certain things that we've heard. And I spent most of my time leading up to the election in Florida. And there were all of these ads that I would hear on TV that were so triggering, talking about abortion and everything else.
Hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times I was personally triggered and how many times I literally screamed at the TV
Mm.
about choices that I had to make for my body that I never wanted to have to make for my body. And I know there are so many women out there that go through the same thing. And I know that there are so many people that don't even understand the conversation. They don't
Exactly.
understand why a DNC is necessary. And I forgot what technically the procedure was that I had to have once you're past a certain time. Then it's a different terminology because
Hmm.
one is a DNC is dilation and cartilage, but basically it's a different procedure that I had to have because my child was later in stage and still had to come into this world at some point in time. And I have a death certificate for that child. So the conversation is always so tough when people ask me, do you have children?
Mm.
It's always a,
And what about when Mother's Day comes and people are just generally saying Happy Mother's Day? I'm hoping and praying that this platform does is educates people, whether
yeah,
they've gone through any of these challenges or not, in learning how to communicate and just keep in mind, yes, people get sucked into the holiday, but be very conscious that yes, it's a holiday, but not happy for everybody. And
yeah,
so you don't know what might trigger somebody at some point.
yeah,
And it could be anything or many things, but to say Happy Mother's Day, to say Happy Father's Day, like generally right now, I don't even say it at all. I'm like, enjoy. Like
yeah,
if they
yeah,
say it, then I get it a lot because people don't know. And that's another thing. And it's a hard thing for people to really say, oh, but what should I say? Just being conscious of not getting into the conversation as much so that you're really being more considerate than, oh, happy Mother's Day. How many kids do you have? Da, 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 da. Like just cut it short.
yeah. Yep.
Because
Yeah.
there's
How many
so
kids do
many.
you have? Or that's like a maybe a twice a week I get asked that in just general conversation. And it's a
And
loaded
I,
question, you know?
yeah, yeah. And I know they're not trying to be mean,
Yeah.
but it's a re-emphasis on we have to train our minds and to just shift a little bit when you're having a conversation. I can speak from a woman's perspective that it can become very triggering. I can't speak on a man's perspective, but I know that there are certain triggers, and I am not triggered like I used to be. But
Mhm.
once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
I've been able to redefine what motherhood is for me. Like we were discussing earlier, I did tons of baby showers, and it was in the beginning of my entrepreneurship, being an event planner, as I'm getting a result that a diagnosis that I'm infertile and not knowing why. And like we said earlier, the fertility journey is different for everyone. So it's just being very cautious. You don't have to tippy toe, but just being cautious in the conversation. If somebody doesn't talk about certain things, that might be a reason why. It's like if they don't mention their kids, don't ask. Like,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
it's just really shifting. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, how often do you take a break for your mental wellness? Do you check in on your mental wellness?
I would probably say not often enough, but I am getting better.
Mm,
I take it when I need it. As you're talking about Mother's Day, it's probably one of those holidays. I think I had like talked myself into like I'm gonna go to yoga and then I'll do a walk and then I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get through this day. And then when the day came, I was like, I just need to tune everything out. I just need to not be on social. I just need to be one with my couch. And that's what I need. And I'm gonna honor that. So I'd say on my journey, I've definitely learned what works for me, even with, again, the affirmations or the
mhm,
gratitude that I express that I do daily. And what I write might look different by the day, but some of that even leads to answering your question of like the small things that I do just to help my own mental health, the walks that I take, the times that I need in solitude. I'm an extroverted introvert, you know what I mean? Like
oh, so am I.
my time out there, like you'll see me at every networking
Yeah.
event there is that I'm able to and socializing with everybody, giving when I can, but I've definitely learned my alone time. It's not anything that I regret
Mm.
when I need downtime or when I have to say no, just to reserve that time for myself to regroup.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
because, and I can say, I semi jokingly gave the example of you may just need to be like curled up on the couch. Trust me, there was definitely one of my pregnancies that I experienced. I had a loss, a traumatic one, literally like the day after my 40th birthday. And
Mm,
that one, I want to say, probably took me out. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
took me out. I
Wow.
needed to just become one with the bed, become one with the couch.
Mhm.
And it was what it was. By that time, I was like, okay, this is a lot. Being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, being a daughter, a wife, just going through it and the struggle and as traumatizing as that was, I was like, you just
Mhm.
need to do for yourself what you need to do for yourself with no shame around it. I definitely have learned to seek help and to speak about it to professionals, and that has helped, and figure out what works for you and exercise that as often
Mhm.
as needed.
And so if you had a superpower, what would that be?
If I had a superpower, what would that be? That's a hard question. I don't know if I've thought about it. I want to say I do have a superpower, and one of my superpowers is connecting people.
It's like you don't have to wish to have one, you have one.
I know what my
Period.
superpowers are. And again, it all goes back to my why. I am here on this earth to create joy and beauty for others. And so that is my superpower, you know.
Yeah. No, I love that because, like I said, I had to redefine what motherhood was for me. And I
Yeah,
feel that that's a very, defining moment when you're able, in whatever stage of the fertility journey you are, and you come across different challenges, redefining what motherhood is tends to kind of help through the mental process. For me, that's what
right.
helped because I was there. I was like done. That's it.
Yeah,
And I didn't see past my 10 years of going through what I was going through. I didn't understand what my worth was.
yeah,
So redefining motherhood, that was key to me. And also advocating, and trying to be a voice and looking for advocacy in communications, like when you shared what the nurse said, just like that, there's education there. I broke down when I was at the GYN because of what they said to me at one point, and I ended up leaving there and switching to a specialist, which was so different. They
yeah,
have compassion and empathy versus, oh, this is happening.
yep,
I can sum this up by resilience for you because you became a caregiver, you grieved a parent, you challenged through fertility, you had a divorce, and you still carry a smile. And I know that it's still a hard transition for you, but that smell and that energy just reinforces what you said. It goes back to that positive affirmation and holding on to something that can keep you going. And so, do you feel that resilience is like a word that kind of describes you? And if so, or if you have another word.
I do. I think some days more than others, but again, that's okay. Some days I definitely don't feel resilient. Some days I feel beat down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like resilient is definitely it's a word that I have to think of often for sure. And I'll say, as you talk about empathy and everything else, I think that some of this journey that I've gone through, as you mentioned, going through it, I carry myself with a smile. What
Mm.
I've realized or what I've been reminded by is that everybody that we encounter, we have no idea what they're going through at
Mm. Oh,
any given
yeah.
point in time. We have no idea what their past was. We have no idea what their childhood was. We have no idea what they are carrying. And so
Mm.
we all need to have empathy each and every day. You just don't know. If you hadn't created this platform, I wouldn't be speaking about this right now because I am comfortable with you. I've known you for so long. I feel comfortable in sharing it. And I know that the conversation is needed. And serving as the immediate past president for WIPA, I have had to create spaces for other people to talk about how they've been through
Mm.
different tragedies, how they made it through. And I know how important that conversation is. And we do
Yeah.
have to let other people know that we too have been something so that they feel comfortable in sharing and that we are here to reinforce them and build them up through parent loss and through their fertility journeys because otherwise it can feel very very lonely
Yeah, and in a
so
in a very high level stress career that we've
yeah,
chosen
exactly.
in the events industry, everything could be triggering or draining. And by the time you get home, it's like, where do you get your energy from? So it's a conversation that I feel that is needed continually and more of because people are looking at that entrepreneurial, oh wow, all the success, all the beauty and all that, but there's so much more to that. That's the other reason why I put this together. One thing that a biggest takeaway that you feel the listeners can take, what would you share?
Just give yourself grace.
Mm.
There's so
I
many
was
things
just
that
thinking that in my
give yourself
head. Yes. Yes.
good. So then that was
That
a good one. Yeah, just give
that
yourself
is.
grace.
And where can they connect with you?
The best place to find me is usually in my Instagram stories. So my Instagram is at Oniki Occasions. That's OHNIKI Occasions, OCCASIONS.
I'll share that in the show notes. Thank you so much. I love you so much for just having a moment to be able to share your story and your journey. And it's a continual journey, I know. So I am super appreciative of you sharing. And I hope that someone out there who's listening took away something out of it,
I hope
so
so.
thank you.
I hope so. I hope to be
Yeah.
here in any way that I can for others going through similar.
Awesome.
So thank you for, again, this time and this
Mhm.
space and for being who you are, which is such a light.
Oh, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. And if you need to share this with anyone that you know needs to hear this, please share it. Please comment, subscribe, everything else so that we can continue the conversation. Till the next episode, take care and see you soon.
Bye bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.